Welcome to Heads and Tails, the podcast where midlife gets a major reframe. Let's be real. Midlife can shake up everything: your relationships, your career, your connection to your kids, your parents, even your own body. Perimenopause, menopause, shifting identities, it can feel overwhelming, like a full-on crisis. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be. We're here to help you flip the script from midlife crisis to midlife recalibration. I'm Dr. Kate White, gynecologist, menopause, and sexual medicine specialist. And I'm with Jay White, marriage and family therapist, and my husband of 26 years. Together, we're diving into all things midlife, from your head to your tail, to help you find more connection, more clarity, and a whole lot more joy. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the Heads and Tails podcast. Today, we are talking about being caught in midlife between the most intense part of career and your hormone changes and the most intense part of parenting. Parenting your tween to teen to young adult. Mm-hmm. This is something that I talk with my patients, not necessarily as just their gynecologist, but as another parent who is struggling at the same things in the same time. And I get those questions like, how do I handle this? How do I handle, why can't I handle these things? And
with a teenager.
With a teenager or with my child, and where do I go from here? And certainly, I know that we talk about this all the time with your clients as well, whether your client is the actual adolescent or the family that's struggling.
Right. That yes, there's plenty of struggle with teenagers, and we have two 20-somethings now that were teens, and I guess, so I wrote a couple of questions for you. You wrote a couple for me. What would fire one off?
Sure. I think that one thing that just seems to be a chronic problem is the struggle for control in that relationship, where they want to be in control, you want to be in control, and how do you resolve that struggle?
Wow. So I'll tell you, I'll explain it. Usually I draw it for people, but if somebody's driving, if you're you'll be able to understand it. I take, so the struggle for control, at the same time, you want to fix that, but you at the same time want to be on the same team when you're fixing it. It's a lot easier to work with a teenager that feels like you both want the same thing. The way I do it is I draw, if you picture a capital letter Y, so picture a big capital letter Y, and then let it fall to its right. So it tips to its right. So now you have a line that divides, right, at a point. And this is a lot to keep in your head, but just do this, if you will. So take a 0 at the very bottom of the Y, and so what we've done is create a timeline. So there's a 0, there's an 11 where there's a split, and then there's a 22 at the end of the split or the Y. This is the child's life. So from 0 to 11, it's one line, and the reason it's one line is because you're in total control as a parent. You have 100% of the of control. Now, that doesn't mean that, I mean, obviously a baby, you have to have 100% control, but the 11-year-old can start to make a few, this is the way I want to cut my hair, this is what I want to wear on Saturdays, but you're still, this is bedtime, this is what we're eating tonight, does that make sense?
Sure. And
then you go all the way to 22 when they're in the workforce or they're finishing college or something like that, and you have 0 control. Now, you have your morals and principles and ethics and spirituality and all the things you've put into them, but man, they're on their own. They're basically on their own. So the hard part is that halfway from 11, and I'm I'm using 11, but halfway is what, 16, something like that. And you have about 50% control, and they have 50% control. About. And you don't know where they are all the time, but they're driving the car and they're doing this and the other. The problem is when they mess up and you get a phone call and it says, hey, such and such, Johnny left his jacket over here at the party the other night. And you said, party? He was at the movies. Oh no, he was here. And then, okay, all of a sudden here's, they are grounded. All right. And they continue to do this, and they're wanting control. They're wanting to do stuff with their friends, and but they have to be safe, and they have to follow your rules. And what happens is that Y, as it's splitting, juts back, and now you have 90% control, and they have 10. But what you have to let them know is that neither one of you is happy. I don't want 90%.
Right.
And that's the point of this, you have 10, you think you're not, I don't want 90. I don't want to have to babysit you. I want you to be 16 and not 11. And so that's the, hopefully that was, you could follow
I think
that. Does that make sense?
That is, they say, we both have the same goal. Our goal is for you to be responsible enough and trustworthy enough to make good decisions that are not endangering you and not endangering your future, which is really hard for a lot of kids to see beyond this party this night. Everybody wants the goal to hand over and be able to have that person to be a realized, responsible adult with a good future when they are in control 100%. And so I actually back it up sometimes when I'm talking to my patients. I say, when you're 3, you get you get to choose what shoes you were going to wear to preschool. And so you're gradually giving them part of that control. Right along and making sure that they make these good decisions. And but for them to say, okay, everyone's goal is the same, is for you to try to learn to make those decisions, and it can be relinquishing that power over you is my goal, and it's only frustrating us both when you show that you cannot.
And you're right, and you'll get that, and you'll get. I don't know. Let's say you have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old, and the 7-year-old will say, well, why does she get to go and And well, I can trust her. I mean, you have to say it gentler than that, but. So
I think that is very helpful to parents to have that tool to say, okay, look, we are all on the same team.
Right. I want to give you control.
Right. And then I would say also, one of the lines that I think is, that I think when we have had our own kids is one of the things we would tell them, this is not necessarily following maybe, but is that I don't want you to grow up to be a cautionary tale to others.
Right. Well, that's exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So these are we making good choices is going to look around you, see what people are doing, see what the consequences are, and of course we always say that, but try to earn that and maintain that control for yourself, and then if we have teenagers that make those poor choices, how do you make your relationship with them when you have that control? How do you make that relationship with them anything other than saying, like if you say, okay, well, you can't hang out with this person, how do you handle that?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So we're getting to what happens is you get to a point where there are things that they are doing that are, we can always use the word right and wrong, but there's different levels of a price to pay if they get it wrong. And so if they are hanging out with somebody that's toxic, if they fail an entire semester of school, that's what is really worrying parents. Yes, they'll come in and, oh, he's being a brat, or we're trying to teach him to say yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and so, but he's not. I mean, that's things that's preferable, but not deadly. And so, yeah, I will, it's funny, I will, when I meet with a teenager for the first time, it always goes the same way. They'll come in and they'll be with mom, usually mom, sometimes with dad, but they'll be with mom, and they'll come in and they'll look at the floor, and any question you ask them, they'll either look at the floor or they'll look at mom. And I start off really simple, and I'll say, this is going somewhere, I promise, but I'll say, tell me your name. Do you have a brother or sister? Yeah. And I love to ask, how old is she? And they never know. And they look at mom, and then I will say, I ask them a couple of more questions about what school they go to, and then I'll say, why are you here? I mean, I'll just send it right at them. And they either look at the floor or they look at mom again and say nothing. And then I'll say, let me guess. About a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you approached your mother and you said, wow, I sure would like to go and share all of my feelings with a therapist. I just want to dig way down and talk about all of my problems. And they laugh, they're kind of still looking at them and laugh. And I said, are you sure? Is that not? Anyway, but now I've sort of established that you don't want to talk about it. I know you don't want to be here. Nobody wants to be here. I'll ask mom to leave. She'll leave. And then the first question I ask him or her, a lot of times a him, I'll say, does she worry about you too much? And they always say yes. In fact, when they don't say yes, it's even scary. They'll say, no, I'm pretty much a screw up. But then at least, you're off and talking. But so what I'm giving you is we're always thinking of how can we communicate with the teenagers? How do we get on the same side? How can I parent? I've tried everything. His grades are just scraping the bottom of the barrel. I've taken away everything, phone, computer, and it doesn't matter. They just sit in their room and sulk or whatever. So parents will really get to the end of their rope, but looking at it from the teenager's perspective, all they do is worry about me. All they do is tell me what to do. All they do. Now we can get somewhere. Because, and this is a roundabout way of answering your question, where if you ask them, if your mom didn't say who you could hang out with, or didn't have a curfew, or didn't check your, Power School? What was it that we could check their grades or whatever, or make sure everything would turn in and be a bunch of zeros or whatever. If your mom didn't check Power School, let's use that example, what would your grades be? What would they be? And if the kids say, I do just fine. All right, that's an easy thing to test, but you don't want to go a whole semester. So let's go a week or 2 weeks. And mom won't look at it. And that's a hard thing to get her to agree to. But even if she does look at it, she can't say anything. And let's see where you are. Now, if you're failing everything, then I look like the idiot. You see, I like to put the little pressure on the kids, but then it gives them some control. But it's the same thing. We're wanting to give them that little bit without a catastrophe. Now you ask about what, with you, what would it be? I mean, how do you know when it's the teenager and the decisions they're making and their hormones, and when do you know if it's mom's hormones, or when is it a bad?
Well, certainly I think that one of the things that you touched on is she worries about me too much. Well, and if you look at this time of perimenopause, menopause, and the hormone changes that are affecting your brain, anxiety and depression increase by 50%, 30 to 50% across the board in perimenopause and menopause. And sometimes people will be like, oh, it's what's going on around you. That certainly is a lot of things that are anxiety inducing, changes in your job, changes in your teenagers. But just on its own, your brain is on high alert due to the swings in estrogen that you're getting and all those changes that are affecting the parts of your brains that
You're talking about, this is the mom.
Sure.
This is
this is the mom and who's worrying too much. Now, if you've got a whole line of zeros on Power School, are you worrying too much? Probably not.
That's exactly right, and that's where.
But how much of the anxiety and the irritability and how much of that is affecting the relationship versus how much is truly the changes that are going on in the environment of that struggle. And so a lot of my patients say, I cannot keep myself from saying things that I know that I shouldn't say, that I was able to keep in before. And so if you've got this horrendously toxic combination of surging testosterone and spiking estrogen and progesterone in men, boy and girl hormones, with your own hormones that are all over the place, and making your ability to self-regulate harder, then you get all these creatures in this boiling point of poor self-regulation. So sometimes it is that we have to look at, can we modify what's going on in your brain hormonally with some hormone manipulation, and try to tease out, okay, you can't really change what's going on with their self-regulation, but can you change what's going on with your own self-regulation?
And that would be the best you can be at, the best you could, therefore, when the problems come your way, or the problems for them, come your way, you are reacting to it the best way possible, or the way you used to 10 years ago. Right,
exactly. When you were able to, when there were fits and things, and you were able to kind of take that step back, take the deep breath, and some of it is matter of possibly some behavioral therapy that can help you to regain that control in the reframe how you're seeing it, instead of as a personal attack, which a lot of times it feels like against, and you have a lot of, I think, sorrow that you get as a mom when you have this child that you feel like you've lost. And you're losing that connection with them, and that loving relationship. So it's a grieving that is going on too. So how to manage that for yourself? Therapy can be helpful with that, and to say, okay, is this really something that's happening to me, or is this part of the natural progression that is part of that why? So when you're giving up control and that child is trying to take control, it's not just a personal abandonment, which I can think it can feel like for a lot of moms, parents.
I remember when they got into middle school and they no longer wanted you to come to lunch with them. Because in elementary school it was always
right, and so there is a grieving period, and also just a flat out anxiety about when they have the inability to see how things are going to impact their future, and all you can think about is how this is going to impact their future, and when you have the ability to say, I know if he fails this class, that's going to keep him from getting into this next class where they can't, they're like, I just don't want to do this homework. I have other things to do. And you see the downstream effects. And so you have to be able to regulate how when they feel like you're attacking them because for now, and you feel like you're really just trying to set them up for the future, and trying to, and at the same time, manage your own anxiety and know, is this anxiety normal? Is it not normal? Is it something that I can manage? Can I manage it with therapy? Can I manage it with hormones? Do I need to be on a medication that helps to manage this anxiety because it's becoming debilitating?
And there's an awful lot going on around, I mean, because when you have teenagers, you are, like you say, you're probably in perimenopause, but you're also the what sandwich generation, or
oh yeah,
I mean, what would you
right? And it's
because it's not as if they are the only issue in your life,
right.
I mean,
And you're trying to parent and you may or may not have a parent in your life, and if you do have a parent in your life, their needs are changing, and their abilities are changing. You're not only parenting now. A lot of times, you're not only parenting your teenager, but things have flipped, and you're parenting your parent, helping them with their new needs, health needs, how they are interacting within a world that is changing around them. They may be recently unpartnered through divorce or death, and that may take on a whole nother role for you.
Right.
And so you're being pulled in a lot of directions.
Things. Right.
And so it really needs to come back to a lot more self-care for parents who don't necessarily take that time to address it, because there is no time.
And taking away, so from this first part of the conversation, it's how do I need to be on the same team as my teenager, and the way to do that is to say we want the same things. I mean, I want you to have your life and freedom, and but it has to be with responsibility. I like the thing that my buddy Ken said. When his girls were teenagers, he told them, so just you can try this. He told them, when we look at teenagers, I mean, when just our generation, we're Gen X, and so we were raised on hose water and neglect. But when we look at our kids, so many of my friends and so many of our friends have said, I just got to keep them alive and not pregnant. It's all right. That's a pretty basic goals there. But it doesn't take much to be an exceptional teenager. It just, and as a parent, if you tell them this, yes, I want you to stay alive, and I want you to make minimum grades or whatever. But gosh, if you're just nice to people, if you say good morning to your teachers, if you help, Miss Hawes across the street just take the groceries in, it's unbelievable. If you're polite, you will be asked back. You will be fed by people that cook a lot better than we do.
I think that one of the things you said when about you're only 3 sentences away from healing a relationship, that can be so helpful, I think, to kids too. Where you say, look, if you don't know the way to make things better, because I think that they sometimes they get trapped in this.
And they would be spiral. Making things better with who?
Let's just say it would be making things better with your so your teacher. You go in and you want to make it better. With you feel like that your teacher hates you.
Right. My teacher hates me.
My teacher hates me.
And I will tell. I want you to keep going.
No,
no. I like where you're going with this, but it is. It's funny how often the kids will say, something to the effect of the teacher hates me or the teacher doesn't need, and the parent will say, no, they don't. They're fine with you. They're you're just not trying. You're kind of backing the kid into a corner when you're trying to help by saying the teacher's fine with you, but the kid has no escape. If you're basically, without saying it, telling them that they're not trying, or they're not doing well, and that may be the case. But man, how do they get out of that? And I think that's where you're going.
I think there are sort of some things that you've said where it just when they're in that situation, how would they approach?
Oh yeah, well, if the kids that I've said, if they finally admit to me, and we're using grades, I mean, as our example of that. I mean, I think it's a good one because there is a definite correlation between how much you're trying and the results that you get. When it comes to grades, but you'll get a kid that has not tried very hard this semester in a couple of classes, and I will ask them, I will say, if you did everything you could to do well in this class, how many hours a week would you have to work? And it's amazing that they'll say, 4. What are you doing in those 4 hours? TikTok. Are you watching us? I'm just kidding. but I really, you can't take 4 hours away from, and they'll start to, okay, I get it. But now the teacher really doesn't expect much out of me. But the 3 sentences would be to, 3 sentences to heal a relationship. Ask the teacher, go to the teacher and say, you have not gotten my best effort this semester. And I have been distracted. I have not been trying hard. I have discovered women and beer, or what? I mean, just to be honest. Don't say the beer. I mean, but there are things that I've let get in the way, and I want to do better, and I want to turn this around. And the kids that do that, oh my word, what is it a teacher wants? What is an adult wants from it? You just want somebody that cares. You want somebody that's trying. The teachers aren't. I would rather have a kid that's trying hard and wants to learn this, rather than the smart kid that gets it and kind of, doesn't care much, doesn't try much. So.
Well, I guess ultimately is just a matter of being able to get to the point where you're on the same page. You both have the same goals. Whether you can get that or not from your teenager is a little tough. Whether you can get that from your partner, whether both parents are on the same page, is a huge thing. But to be able to try to get the best version of yourself to try to is a big struggle, I think, at this point. So trying to get the best version of yourself to put into that relationship is going to, and using those words where you're showing you're caring, you're showing that you are supportive, and that you believe in that kid, and that you believe that they can get there, and it is a struggle, but it's gonna, but it ultimately,
and they'll continually let you down.
Right.
I mean, that's just part of it, and a big part of it. And we have about 10 minutes, and I'd love to bring this up, and that is just controlling your own fears and anxiety about your kid. They're not even in the same room with you. They're just in your head. What do you see? What do you see moms asking? What do you see? I mean, of course, I get a ton of this. I mean, because they come in just looking for ideas and answers.
I think in terms of controlling your anxiety, I think it has to come back to trying to recognize whether those anxieties are real anxieties, which we have my friends that you think that they shouldn't be with, that they're a bad influence, and how do you keep them out of that potentially poor?
That's a good, man. A lot of parents struggle with that, and that is a bad influence on their kid. Somebody that is just, man, that kid's poisonous, or that person's or that group.
Or potentially you're in a toxic romantic. They can be in a dangerous or toxic romantic relationship. So how do you try to? What do you tell parents about that?
You have to get I'll give you a tool. You have to get the kid to admit, which is a difficult thing to do, that this person or these people are bad for them. And the way I do it is I sneak up on it. I ask the kid, I'll say, somebody comes up to you, or let's say I offered you $10,000 cash. And to get the cash, here's what you have to do. You have to hang out with a friend for half the day. And this is a friend that you see with some regularity. You have to hang out with a friend today, and that friend has to put you down, or that friend has to take a dig at you that hurts. I mean, they have to hurt your feelings. You have to find that person, and within 4 or 5 hours, if that friend hurts your feelings, you get the cash. And the kid will say, man, I'd get Jerry. I mean, they'll name them. And it's powerful, because I have to be really careful with my next sentence, which is going to be, well, then why do you hang out with him? And you're getting zero money. And this kid is hurting you. And it's fun, because boys are a little more bulletproof sometimes. They kind of go, yeah, he's kind of a dick. I mean, or some, excuse my language, but I mean, that's when they'll realize it. So if you can ask in a way to make them identify that person, or asking them something like, when's the last time you hung out with your girlfriend and you came home happy? Or when's the last time you hung out with your boyfriend and he didn't end the night going off with his friends?
That's
when you ask it that way,
instead of, I don't like the way he does this.
Yeah,
I don't like the way she...
Or worse, I don't like him. Or right. I don't like... And now you have Romeo and Juliet. So it's getting them to say, this is what they're doing, or this is who I would choose. And now and all you need is a crack. Get the door cracked, and now you open up the conversation with them. So... Sorry, the main point is you have to get the teenager to admit that there's possibly...
This is harmful to them.
This is harmful. Or even possibly harmful.
Or painful.
Or painful. Yeah. If you can get to... Then you're on the road. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's... You don't like my friend because they're from another part of town. Or you don't like my friend because his parents are from the north. Or, well, that one's okay. But you don't like it, and now it's just a battle, and that goes nowhere. It's circular, what we call circular, because it really does go nowhere. But it's you're caught up in the whirlwind of it. But anyway, yeah. So managing anxieties with your teen, or about your teen, or when thinking of your teen, you hit on something of is it real? Is the thing I'm worried about really something to worry about. And worry comes from, worry is, or any emotion, it's a math equation, comes from an event plus a belief system equals an emotion. And so if there were a knock at your door at home and you thought, oh, I think it's Amazon, then you're excited because, or if there's a knock at your door at home and, oh God, here comes the neighbor to complain about my dog. It's a very different emotion, but there were both knocks at the door. Right. Mm-hmm. So it depends on, and so the figuring out what the activating event is. My child is going to go spend the night at this kid's house, and I just don't know him that well, for instance. And the belief system is where there is a big question mark. And so the result is going to be anxiety, or I don't know how my kid is doing in school, or all of these zeros, or whatever it is. And yeah, that produces the emotion. So if you can have the conversation with the teenager, especially if you can do it as a couple, have the discussion and simply say those three things. The event is you are wanting to go spend the night. My belief system is I don't know who these people are, and I know the one time you hung out with them, you got in trouble. Y'all both went to the office. So I am nervous. You follow me? You kind of just say
then
the
it's
three
not
things.
Just my parents are crazy. My parents, she worries too much, or he worries too much.
Right.
Then that gives them an opportunity to recognize what their anticipated outcome is.
Yeah.
And
well, plus it gives them a chance. It is now a discussion. Mm-hmm. And tell me where I'm wrong. I want to be wrong about this. I mean, but you're going to such and such's house. Last time you were there, you got in trouble. I am anxious. Mm-hmm. And if he says, I keep using he, but if he says, his parents are there, they're actually having another set of parents over there that you do know from our soccer team. We're just going to watch a movie and hang out in his basement. He has a foosball table, which would be cool.
So yeah, it's recognizing whether the anxiety is legitimate, mm-hmm. being able to bring those concerns mm-hmm. into a conversation with your teenager, and being able to discuss make it a discussion,
and not she's crazy, or not an ultimatum of you're not going. And we will talk a lot about this. I mean, we'll keep using examples, but activating event, your belief system, and which makes you feel X. We'll talk about that a lot because it's in midlife, in the sandwich generation, you're using it a lot. And that's not we haven't even brought up as a couple.
Right. What's
going on? This is just you and your relationship with the teenager. So, I mean, this will come up again. Anyway, we're running low on time. Do you have?
No, I think that's good. It is trying to make yourself, manage your anxiety. If there are physical things, if there are hormonal things that are getting in the way of your interacting, if you feel like your anxiety is overwhelming and not based on things that are actual that you should be anxious about.
Yeah.
Then can you look at some therapy to help you to manage your own anxiety? Whether you need to look at some whether hormones. If you're seeing the patterns, a lot of times I'll have patients. Mm-hmm. Look at patterns and say, is this cyclic? Am I seeing this the fourth week of every month?
That's funny that you say pattern, because I tell people a lot, psychology can be boiled down to two words, and it's patterns and sustainability. what keeps happening, and if I don't do anything about it, what happens?
Yeah. So if you don't
So
change,
medically,
yeah.
if I don't change this, that's bad. That's,
right. I mean,
that's real bad.
Yeah, and if you're feeling that, and again, and then whether there are other, do you need medication that helps to manage your anxiety if things are, if you are at a point, then you really need to just talk to someone who really can help you through that. But look and see if you're starting to see things that seem to be more hormonally related, because you are getting to things that are cyclic, and you feel like you're in that cloud of where you're not able to control your emotions, you're not able to control your anxieties, then you really should probably talk to somebody who can help with that as well. So
I like it. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in again. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And depending on your...
And if you have specific questions about those type of relationships and how to look at managing those kind of relationships, or have questions or just your own experience, please put them in the comments.
Yeah, comments, especially if you're on YouTube. And you can, I guess you can go to our website also, which is headsandtailspodcast.com. And there's all sorts of ways to get in touch with us, and we would love to hear thoughts and questions and possible topics for future shows. So
perfect.
All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. The information on this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only. While it is true that we are a doctor and a therapist, we are not your doctor or your therapist. This program does not diagnose or treat you. It is not intended to substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. Thank you for listening, and as always, take care of yourself from your head to your tail. See you again soon.